Wyman, Wyman Tang. Today I want to share my Hong Kong story with you. My parents were born in mainland China. They moved to Hong Kong in the 1950s. They gave birth to me and I grew up in Hong Kong. I got married and now have a daughter. 3 generations of us are now living in Hong Kong. Hong Kong has been ruled by the British since 1841. They landed in Hong Kong on 26th of January. On the very first day, they host the Union Jack at the procession point. This is Shui Hang Hou, nowadays in Shanghai. On that very important day, there were British, Chinese, and also South Asians, Indians from the Indian Army. Many South Asian families have lived in Hong Kong for more than 5 generations. They have a long history in this city. We are living in the same neighborhood. Every day we may have an encounter on the streets, in the supermarkets, in the public transportation. But somehow we may not know one another. According to some surveys, 25% of the Hong Kong people said that they do not want to have a neighbor who are of a different race. Among ethnic minorities, 40% of them felt that their cultural traditions are being misunderstood by Hong Kong people. We are living in the same city, but somehow we are living in the parallel world. I always think, what can bring people together?
Hello， 我係 U Chan 啊，我係原居民嚟㗎。我細個咧好中意舞龍舞獅，大個咗咧就中意玩好多新興運動，譬如飛碟啦。我就住喺新界西嗰邊嘅。
Hi everyone, my name is Roji Sharma and I have been living in Hong Kong for 4 years now. My first day in Hong Kong was really complicated and it was different from back in my country. So my first day in Hong Kong, I couldn't really speak in English nor Cantonese. So it took me like 1 year to work on my English, and then right now I'm learning Cantonese and I can speak Siu Su Kontonghua. And then when I was back in my country, I used to play football and volleyball. And then I live in Hong Kong Island.
Hello， 我係阿翠啊。我婆婆喺50年代嗰陣時喺上水整咗間作證，然後就嚟咗香港定居啦。我已經係我哋屋企第3代嘅香港人。我以前咧最中意就係游水同埋跑步。我而家住喺九龍㗎。
Hello， 我係 U Chan 啊，我係原居民啊。我細個咧好中意舞龍舞獅。
Kabaddi is a South Asian sport with 4,000 years of history. It used to be played in the rural area, just like the eagle and the chicks in the Chinese culture. But in recent years, India has successfully transformed this game into a spectator sport. Now it's no longer played on the mud outdoors, but played on the mats indoors. Now it has its professional league. It becomes the second most popular sport in India. It has its own movies, music, and it's become part of the popular culture in India. In Hong Kong, many Chinese love this game. They like teamwork. They like to meet friends from different cultural backgrounds. For many South Asians, they also love to play this game. They are happy that their cultures are being appreciated by Hong Kong Chinese. popular culture should not only be for entertainment, it also has its own social and cultural values. In the case of Kabaddi, I see that it brings people of different ethnic backgrounds together. They share the same pace, same pulse, and the same vision. Are you interested in playing Kabaddi? Join us! Let's play Kabaddi together!
Kabaddi!
Hello everyone, hope that you enjoyed the video a while ago. After watching the video, probably you'll have more questions. Let me tell you more about Kabaddi. Kabaddi in South Asia used to be a folk game. So you can imagine two persons, one is a raider and one is the defender. What does the raider have to do is to go across the line and then try to tag the defender. If the raider can successfully return to his own court, then he wins. And how about the defender? For the defender, he has to wait for the raider to come over and then try to catch him so that the raider cannot go back to his own court. In this case, the defending team will win. So the game actually is rather simple, but you can see here, this folk game has been transformed into a modern sport. What is this transformation process? Let's see. First, they would draw a Kabaddi court. The Kabaddi court will have the measurement, a definite size, that is 13 meters times 10 meters. Drawing the midline in the middle, each team will have equal number of the members, that is 7. And also, they would make it scientific, try to develop specific skills in this Kabaddi sport. Let me ask you, a while ago you've seen some video clips. What do you think in this sport is more about power and strength or endurance? Actually, it needs both. In India, it always say that Kabaddi is a sport combining the skills of all different kinds of sports. So players have to be all-rounded. And this kind of study has changed this folk game into more scientific and developed its own training regime. There's one interesting thing about Kabaddi. That is the raider. When they are raiding, they have to keep count Kabaddi, 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 Kabaddi. In this game, you may ask, how long the raider can do the raiding? In the old days, they can raid as long as they can keep counting Kabaddi. So we'll say in one breath. But as you can imagine, when it becomes a modern sport, it will be difficult for the umpire to really check whether the raider is counting or not. So they changed the rules. Raider still has to count Kabaddi, but at the same time, they add a timer. Make sure that all raiders have the same duration for raiding, that is 30 seconds. In sports, we call this sportization. This happened in the 1950s, modifying the rules. Not only this, they also add different categories, different weights, different ages, different sex groups. With this kind of categorization, more people can join this game. So in South Asia, Kabaddi is also called as sport of the masses. Yeah, it attracts more people to play this game. But somehow in the 80s, in the 90s, people still think that this game is more like a role game. So people start to think how to make this sport more popular. What do you think? Some business people come up with the idea, that is to make it into a spectator sport. And this will make this game more popular. Indeed, now it has become part of the popular culture in India. You may ask, how about Hong Kong? We introduced this sport to Hong Kong since 2015. So far, we have reached 77 schools and communities. We have reached about 5,000 participants. And YCISHK is also one of our participating group. You may ask, in these 5 years, we are developing Kabaddi in Hong Kong. Does it bring any changes? Or how is it related to the topic that we have today, the power of pop culture? I would say that Kabaddi is still new to many Hong Kong people, but is getting more attention and gaining more popularity among the young people. In these 5 years, we see these changes. First, economic capital. We provide opportunities for our participants to become coaches. For example, the one in the picture, if you joined our Kabaddi program before, you may know him. He is Royal. He used to play Kabaddi when he was small. He has never thought that he can have a chance to play Kabaddi in Hong Kong. And not to mention that has become his full-time job. And we also try to sponsor some of our team members who help to do the promotion like this one during Kabaddi Comics, hoping that this kind of products can attract the young people nowadays. Other than economic capital, we also see that the changes of social capital. As you can see in the video, we were saying that nowadays, more Chinese and ethnic minorities, South Asians, are getting to know one another. We call this as the bridging social capital, bridging two different groups. Other than playing Kabaddi, they will also hang out in their everyday life if they need some help. For example, for the ethnic minority friends, if they need someone to give advice on Chinese language, the team members will help. The same way that if the team members may need some English help, and they will also ask these Kabaddi teammates. Another thing that I haven't mentioned in the video, that is the bonding social capital. Sometimes we assume that the South Asian communities are a homogeneous community. Everyone is the same, but that's not true. For example, even among the Nepali community, the older generation and the younger generation actually is quite different. For this Kabaddi game, for the older generation, they will think that it is only played in the rural area. It is only played by those very huge, strong men. So they never expect their children would play Kabaddi in Hong Kong. And for the younger generation, sometimes they would think, how come my father is so interested in watching this Kabaddi game, so violent and so rural? But after they play this game by themselves, they start to appreciate this game. And this also bring a new topic between father and son. And lastly, one change that we can observe is the changes of cultural capital. among our team members, in the past, they may have this kind of idea. When there are two cultures, let's say A and B, they would think that for the host culture, they do not need to have any changes. Instead, it is the guest culture or the one who are new, they need to change to become the culture of the host society. And this concept, we call it assimilation. But after knowing Kabaddi, they start to have change. For some people, they may have this idea, cultural A and culture B. So we don't need to change. We can stay who we are and try to respect one another. And this one, we call it the respect approach or the multiculturalism approach. But somehow we will say that it's still not enough. Instead, we say there is the third possibility, and many of our team members, participants, also agree to that. This is there is A culture, and there is also B culture. And for A culture, it can change. And for B culture, the same, it can also change. And for these two cultures to get together and find out the similarities, find out that actually we are not that different. We have a lot of common areas. We can do things together. If there are some different areas, they can have the attitude of appreciate us instead of seeing it as very exotic. This approach, we call it dialogue or interculturalism. This is what we really lead in our Hong Kong society, having more dialogue, knowing one another, and even have the collaboration, partnership. This will lead to mutual empowerment. And this kind of model is not one-off. It will be sustainable and slowly making changes to the society. And this, we call it the power of pop culture. Thanks for listening to our sharing. Hope that you can also find similar model in the pop culture and bring changes to our society. Thank you.